Buckle up, folks, because this video is a wild ride. Good day and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. So big things are happening on the ground down in Georgia, and these are things that have been in the works for a few years, but the state election board put forth a legal notice about a meeting. Notice is hereby given that Georgia State Election Board will conduct a two-day meeting on December 19th, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. and on Wednesday as well. The meeting will take place at the House Appropriations Room at the Georgia State Capitol. Anybody can attend. I was actually going to fly down there. I talked to my sources on the ground. I was going to release this video last night. This is a wild report involving all the key figures in Georgia elections, from the governor to the Secretary of State to Gabriel Sterling. But before I get into that, really quick, I want to thank my sponsor, Midas Gold Group. That's MidasGoldGroup.com. You can text Lumberjack to 232-425 to receive free silver with a qualifying order, or call them at 480-360-3000. Just the other day, a report came out that the United Arab Emirates is no longer willing to settle their oil transactions in the dollar. And if you've seen the alignment with the BRICS, it's the de-dollarization around the world, so gold and silver can be a safe haven. Make your own decisions on that. I buy it because I like it, but you do what you want to do. So it appears that Governor Kemp's legal counsel has actually put Brad Rafensberger on notice. I pulled some video of an interview with Joe Rossi. I want you to watch this.
And ultimately ended up with Governor Kemp's team after I really wasn't getting anywhere with Mr. Sterling from the Secretary of State's office. And I do appreciate Governor Kemp's team. He sent his deputy chief counsel down to my house one Friday. We started going through the data. I showed him the 36 errors. I told him my commitment was, number one, I would be truthful. And number two, I would operate with full disclosure. So he loaded all my files onto his computer. He took them with him back up to the governor, and they put together a 3 or 4 person team, worked on it for about 6 or 8 weeks in the fall of 2021. And then I got a call one day from his chief counsel, David Dove, and David said, hey, we've reviewed all this. It's factual. The governor's ready to issue a letter. And be it not for that letter, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we did. So much appreciation to the governor's team for taking the time and, to be honest, really doing what the Secretary of State should have been doing. But as you mentioned, Brian, in that letter, he made 2 key points. The first one was that the data provided by Mr. Rossi is factual in nature. And then the second part of that letter, he says that as you mentioned, the data posted on the Secretary of State's website. And that phrase is very critical. I wanted to make sure that was in the letter, that it's the data that's sloppy and inconsistent, as the governor said, and doesn't build public confidence, was posted on the Secretary of State's website. And that's one of my points I'll get to, is that even though the errors may have originated in Fulton County, the Secretary of State's got to be held responsible and own up to them.
So 2 really big points there. Number one, a team of 3 or 4 people from the governor's office, his legal counsel, examined this. Okay, this isn't conspiracy theory. They determined that Joe Rossi's findings were accurate. What that leads to, I don't know. But the other thing is that ultimately the person responsible is Brad Rafensberger. So I'm going to take you back. There's actually 2 elections taking place here. The Georgia State Elections Board initiated an investigation into Fulton County data from the RLA report. That was labeled SEB 2021-181. The SEB identified violations and errors in the 2020 election recounts in Fulton County. Another complaint for Fulton County was filed July 8th of 2022, specifically calling out 3,125 duplicate ballots and 17,852 ballots counted that do not have a corresponding image. This complaint resulted in the creation of investigation SEB 2023-25, which is complete and will be presented to the State Election Board this next Tuesday, December 19th. Now, I looked this up online, and this is really fascinating. So I want to show you this image. 2023-181 Georgia. I typed this into the search bar. This was on DuckDuckGo, which actually pulls from Google's algorithm. And this is the results I got. All about Rudy Giuliani and Mark Meadows. Nothing about the actual election board investigation. And then I want to show you something else here from Twitter. It got community noted. Leading report ran breaking. Governor Kemp's legal staff has notified Rafensberger about these votes and so on. A public meeting will be held next week. So the community note says there's no such claim about evidence of invalid votes. A dismissed lawsuits once claimed that 17,000, accompanying image files, but retaining image files was not legally required at the time. Well, the person has to wonder, why would they not be legally required? But the funniest thing is what they utilize for the fact check here are Twitter statuses from this guy, Angry Fleas, a little dinky account on Twitter, Gabriel Sterling, the very people who would actually be interested in not making themselves guilty. It's ridiculous. Okay, so the bottom line is what we will see on Tuesday, I don't know anymore, because it turns out that Joe Rossi has been canceled. That's right. So this occurred. So the hearing's still going to actually take place, but here you go. Please accept this email as notice that the case SEB 2023-025 has been continued from the agenda and will not be heard at the December 19th State Election Board's meeting. So that is now out. Joe Rossi's presentation has now been eliminated or canceled. But I want you to hear another clip from Joe Rossi here.
Not that you glossed over it, but can we return to 17,852 ballots for a minute? I mean, that's a pretty big number.
Right.
Explain those one more time for me.
Well, I can explain the number. I can't explain how it happened. Hopefully we're going to hear about that on Tuesday. But there are, in the second machine count, there are 17,852 votes counted that do not have a corresponding ballot image associated with them.
I love this interviewer here. That's a pretty big number. And I like Joe Rossi's response, because he says, look, I can't explain how it happened. I can only explain that this problem exists. Now, again, I was going to fly down there on Tuesday or drive down and go to the hearing. I wanted to meet Joe Rossi and hear his findings and actually see on the ground and get some data there and see what's taking place down in Georgia. But now he's been canceled. The hearing is still taking place on Tuesday, and other people will be presenting. There's still going to be a press conference about this issue. And I don't know what this all leads to. A lot of people are like, well, then they should just, put Trump in. That's not going to happen, people. It's not. I mean, at this point, your hope, if you want to see Trump as president, is to get your boots on the ground, get more people out to the election than ever before. You have got to drive people to the polls. You've got to continue to fight for election integrity in any way, shape, or form. That's the answer. Don't think that this is going to magically solve it. But what it does do is it just exposes the errors in the system that need to be fixed. And I want you to remember something. The Democrats have apparently pulled their money out of Georgia at this point and given it up as a loss. I don't know what all the reasons are, but this may be contributing to that. So keep fighting the good fight. Stay true to the fight, man. And check out my sponsor, Midas Gold Group, MidasGoldGroup.com. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.